Type 2 diabetics are told so many outlandish myths and just straight up lies that for some type 2 diabetics, it's got to be almost impossible to even know what the truth is and definitely to even care. And the problem with all these lies being out there that type 2 diabetics believe is that it can have disastrous health consequences. It can truncate your life and definitely your health span in such a way that it makes it miserable to even be alive. If you know all 10 of these lies and the truth behind them, you can actually hope and dream of having a normal hemoglobin A1C, not being on a handful of medications, and not losing a leg or losing a toe or losing your vision or losing your kidney function or other functions. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician, and I've been taking care of diabetics for over 20 years. Let's talk about the 10 lies that type 2 diabetics believe. The first lie that most type 2 diabetics believe is very harmful, and that is that type 2 diabetes is progressive and incurable, that no matter what you do, what you eat, what you avoid, what you take, you might be able to manage it, you might be able to improve it a little bit, but you can never reverse it, and you're always gonna have it. This is absolutely untrue. With the right lifestyle and dietary choices, you can completely reverse your type 2 diabetes and have a normal A1C. If you are truly a type 2 diabetic, it is a self-imposed, also self-limiting condition that you can absolutely reverse without exception 100%. Lie number 2 is that the cause of type 2 diabetes is genetic, or that it's somehow unknown, that it's essential. In other words, that means doctors, we don't know what the hell causes it. We just know you got to take a handful of pills and come see me every 3 months for a checkup. Again, completely and totally untrue. Genetics does play a role in type 2 diabetic. You are genetically predispositioned to have hyperglycemia and hyperinsulinemia, but you are in no way damned or doomed by your genetics. This is 100% untrue. In the same respect, many doctors and dietitians will pretend we don't really know what caused your type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is chronic carbohydrate toxicity syndrome. Once you understand that key fact, everything else just falls into place. Lie number 3 about type 2 diabetes is that it's just all about your high blood sugar. There's nothing else going on. We just need to try to control your high blood sugar or hyperglycemia with pills and injections, and then you just keep doing everything else you normally do, and you'll get more and more medication as years go by. Again, completely untrue. High blood sugar is one of the important principles of type 2 diabetes, but perhaps the more important principle is that you are suffering from hyperinsulinemia as well. And I think that a lot of healthcare providers don't really like to talk about this, because when you bring not only hyperglycemia to the table, but also hyperinsulinemia, that turns this huge spotlight onto your diet. Because if we're just talking about high blood sugar, then we can get away with a lot of dietary foolishness and advice. But when you start talking about hyperinsulinemia, what raised your blood sugar? What raised your insulin? When you start asking both of those questions at the same time, it becomes very readily apparent that your diet is behind your type 2 diabetes. Lie number 4 about type 2 diabetes is that your metabolism or your body is somehow broken. Just doesn't work correctly anymore. Again, 100% untrue. Now, your metabolism may be currently mangled. It may be very, very sick. It may be disordered, but it is not permanently broken. It is not broken beyond repair. You can absolutely repair the metabolic damage that led to your type 2 diabetes. You can absolutely reverse this condition. You can heal the damage, you can calm down the inflammation, and you can reverse this. You're not permanently broken. Lie number 5 about T2D is that you absolutely have to have medications to control your blood sugar and your hemoglobin A1C. Again, this is a complete and utter lie. You can control your blood sugar, your insulin levels, and your hemoglobin A1C with diet alone. Now, a lot of healthcare providers out there will say with diet and exercise, but the truth of the matter is if your diet is proper enough, exercise is also optional. Now, I'm not telling you not to exercise. Exercise is great for you, but it is not necessary. So if any of you guys watching this video, if you're a paraplegic, a quadriplegic, if you are in any way just unable to exercise, you can still have a normal A1C and reverse your type 2 diabetes. Line number 6 that type 2 diabetics are told is that you deserve to be able to eat whatever you want. I really have a suspicion that the big food manufacturers are behind this lie, and they help dietitians and healthcare providers come to this conclusion. Diabetics are only human. They deserve to eat birthday cake too. So when you're faced with this lie, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm a deserving human, but what I really deserve is to be able to keep all my toes and to be able to keep my retina intact and to be able to keep my kidney function and other functions there. I'd like for all my body parts to keep functioning. So really what this comes down to is, would you rather have the birthday cake or would you rather have all 10 of your toes? And I think most rational type 2 diabetics, when you put this to them in that manner, they're like, yeah, F the birthday cake. I want to keep my body parts working properly. Line number 7, type 2 diabetics believe is that you should never fast. You should eat something every 2 hours, either a meal or a snack. Now, there is a caveat. If you are on a medication that raises your serum insulin level, so if you're injecting insulin, or if you're taking a medication like glyburide, glipizide, glimepiride, then currently, yes, you don't want to not eat for too many hours or you will have a low blood sugar. But once you have lowered the carbohydrate intake of your diet enough to be able to stop the injectable insulin, which every single type 2 diabetic out there can do without exception, and then also improved your blood sugar and your A1C enough that you can get off the glyburide, the glipizide, the glimepiride, they work by raising your insulin. Once you're off these medications and you're only taking something like glucophage or metformin, you're never going to have a dangerous low blood sugar again. And you can start to fast for longer and longer periods of time, which is going to help your blood sugar and your insulin levels come under better control, return back to normal. Imagine that, having a normal A1C and a normal blood sugar. Yeah, that's possible for you as a type 2 diabetic. But fasting is going to be a big part of that once you're off the medications that work by causing hyperinsulinemia. Line number 8 that type 2 diabetics are told and believe is that they really would do best if they were eating a plant-based diet full of whole grains, lots of fruits, and avoiding saturated fat, red meat, egg yolks. This is one of the most dangerous and devastating lies that type 2 diabetics believe. This will never give you a normal A1C. Now, if you're currently eating just a junk-filled standard American diet, teenager diet, full of chips and candy bars and drinking Coke and Pepsi all day, every day, then converting to a plant-based diet or even a vegan diet is probably going to improve your levels of inflammation and your A1C and your blood sugar levels. Yes, it probably will. But I have yet to see someone on a predominantly plant-based diet who's avoiding red meat and eggs have a normal A1C. I just don't think it's possible to do that. You can improve your A1C, but you're never going to have a normal A1C unless you're eating a proper human diet that includes fatty seafood, fatty red meat, and fatty egg yolks. It is mandatory for you to have an A1C that is normal. Line number 9 that many type 2 diabetics believe, and this includes you undiagnosed type 2 diabetics as well, because they're out there, millions of them, is that you have to be overweight or obese or morbidly obese in order to even be a type 2 diabetic. And this is absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. You can be a skinny type 2 diabetic or a normal weight type 2 diabetic. And in many cases, this is the most dangerous type to be because you run around with your undiagnosed type 2 diabetes for decades before you break an ankle and wind up in the ER and they just happen to check your blood sugar and it's 400 and you've been doing damage to every organ, every little blood vessel in your body for decades before you find out. And that's why I encourage everyone over the age of 35 or 40 to get your A1C checked, even if you have no family history of type 2 diabetes, even if you have no symptoms of type 2 diabetes. At least once a year, get your hemoglobin A1C checked, so that if you are becoming pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, which can be completely silent, you can have no indication that your hemoglobin A1C is 7 or 8. The only way you can know is to check the A1C. Please do that, because you can be a regular size type 2 diabetic or even a skinny, bony type 2 diabetic. Lie number 10 that type 2 diabetics believe, and they believe this because they're told this by their doctor or by the American Diabetes Association or other medical governing bodies, is that as long as your hemoglobin A1C is under 7, it's perfect. You're doing great. You're at no risk of complications. You're going to live to be 110, and all your body parts keep working. This is a dastardly lie, because it's not true. It's a big fat lie. And guess who's going to suffer because of this lie? Not the ADA, not your doctor. You, my friend, you're the one who's going to suffer when you think, well, my A1C 6.9, that's under 7. My doctor said that was perfect. I don't have to worry about anything. Keep eating what I want and take these pills every day, or maybe this injection, and I'm good to go. I'll live to be 100. No, no, sir. No, ma'am. You won't. You will die anywhere from 20 to 30 years prematurely, and it won't be a nice, peaceful death where you go in your sleep. You'll go without body parts. You'll go on dialysis. You'll go blind. It's not going to be pretty. A normal hemoglobin A1C is 5.6 or lower. And on the screen, I'll put up the European conversion for that, because I can never remember it. But if your A1C is even 1/10 of a point above 5.6, it is not perfect, my friend. It is not even good. It is bad. Okay? Now, the higher your A1C, the worse it is. There's no doubt about that. But even a A1C 1/10 of a point high is increasing your risk of all of the disastrous complications that come from type 2 diabetes. So please, 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 I implore you, do not believe this lie. Question your healthcare provider, question your dietitian, and say, you know, actually, I'd like to have a normal A1C, because I feel like that's healthier, and I also feel like I deserve to have a normal A1C. And finally, lie number 11, the bonus lie, is that the reason you're a type 2 diabetic is because your pancreas has burned out and it's just not making enough insulin anymore. Again, this is a dastardly lie, because many type 2 diabetics think, well, I'm screwed. There's nothing I can ever do to reverse this. I'll have to keep taking my insulin injection and these 3 pills that my doctor gave me. When the truth of the matter is, with just 2 tests, if you're not injecting insulin, ask your doctor for a fasting insulin test. If you are injecting insulin, ask your doctor for a C-peptide test. These tests will tell you immediately not only if your pancreas is still making insulin, but if it's making too much insulin, aka hyperinsulinemia. And if you are truly a type 2 diabetic, guess what you're going to also have? Hyperinsulinemia, which is just as dangerous as having high blood sugar. And this is going to, again, turn your cart in a 180-degree direction and focus all of your energy, all of your attention, all of your motivation, and all of your money on your diet, because that's how you're going to reverse your type 2 diabetes. And if you see, oh, I've got hyperinsulinemia, there's only one way you're ever going to get that back to normal, my friend, and that's with a very low carbohydrate, proper human diet. So many type 2 diabetics believe one or more of these myths or lies. I like to call them lies because their ultimate effect is to devastate and destroy someone's health and life. So to me, that's a lie, don't you think?